We're back again with another video, and excuse us, honestly, we really don't know how to like start it, but I definitely wanted to like bring this up the first thing in the video. Who knows, it might be later in the video. Honestly, I don't know, but I don't know if most people know this, but I used to actually formulate products, which is like really weird to think about. I used to like co-formulate products and like help out with the formulations, and I've been really out of the game, and this was given to us when we were in Wisconsin from a retailer, Hive Pharma, and it's a stimulant-free pre-workout, so it's just a pump, and its name is Swarm. And then he also gave us this, and it's called the Amplify, which is essentially just the exact same thing, and it's pump matrix. But what I wanted to bring up is that I didn't know when it became a thing to have like 9 grams of citrulline in your pre-workout, and I mean, if you were to stack these, you would have 15 grams of citrulline. I don't know if that's just like a new thing, if that's just like I don't know, like I'm like so out of it that I just don't understand. I know what I like and what I look for, but now every time I get a new pump or something, it's like, here's 10 grams of glycerol and 10 grams of citrulline. I'm like, man, that's really weird, because that is a lot. But about the train, I definitely, of course, have my Man Sports ISO EAAs, the peach rings, and then also some creatine, and then also some salt because it's really hot, and I know I'm about to sweat. So we're about to ride our workout, do pull. Hopefully Lauren doesn't sweat to death, and we're gonna have a great time. So, if you can tell, I'm already sweating because it's really hot, but that's besides the point. Me and Lauren, we definitely should have just recorded that, but we're talking about how I structure my training. And honestly, for a little bit there, I was following a program from a buddy named Dane, who actually really helped me out with him and I just train very similarly, sense of a push-pull legs, but he really helped me modify my training to fit more of my physique. But I think the biggest thing is that he helped me out mentally a lot, because I was kind of all over the place with my training and I didn't know where to start. And him just giving me a program just really helped me, because it gave me structure, and that's something that I needed. But recently I've kind of gone back to my own programming, mostly because I am really busy with traveling, with work travel, life. I mean, it's hard for me to be like, hey, I need to train, Monday pull, Tuesday push, and then Wednesday off, but then it's well, if I go out of town, let's say Wednesday or Thursday or Friday or whenever, it's just hard for me to follow a schedule. So recently I've gone back to more of my own programming, to more of a push-pull legs. And it's normally I'll train Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, because those are the most times I have available. And then Wednesday, Thursday. But I might throw in an arm day in there randomly, just because if I'm not feeling 100%, but I still want to train, it's just a good way. So me and Lauren kind of talk about that, the program that I follow. It's mostly just push-pull legs with an extra arm day, or however my program fits. Today, we're about to write out the pull day schedule, and then kind of get more into detail about that. So we got a nice whiteboard that I'm not sure if it's mine or Sean's, but that's besides the point. And also we're in the warehouse, so excuse all the extra pallets. Normally I would also throw in some hamstrings, but I've kind of gotten away from that, and I'm kind of doing hamstrings on my actual leg days, which is hopefully twice every so often days. But we're doing a single arm lat pull down, 3 sets, 8 to 15 reps. We're doing deadlifts, 2 sets, 6 to 10 and 8 to 15. These are a little bit heavier, or these are a little bit more less sets, but obviously the rep ranges changes quite a bit too, because we'll have a heavier set and then a back off set. Upper back pull down, 3 by 8 to 15, single arm lat pull down, or single arm lat row, 3 sets, 8 to 10. Real delts, 3 sets, bicep curls, 3 sets, and we'll drop set each thing. I think one of the biggest things, personally, with me kind of handling my program and me doing my training, is that honestly you can technically do whatever it is that you want, but something that I really enjoy doing is that I enjoy writing my workouts. One, because it gives me structure, and I'm not gonna lie, if I don't have structure, I'm kind of all over the place sometimes, and I'm a free-for-all, and that's where I get myself in trouble. And even sometimes during the workout, I'm oh, let me do this instead, and it's hey man, stick to the plan and actually follow through with it, because you'll know you'll get it done. But 2, a big thing about writing on the whiteboard is that it actually reminds me of when in 2020, I trained a lot of times in my garage, and honestly, I did about 50% of my prep in my garage, like cardio and training wise, because we didn't have gyms. And I wrote down every workout, and honestly, it was really fun because like even in here, like we'll pan over here, but like we don't have a lot of equipment, and that's something I actually really enjoy because like I get to like be like not necessarily creative with my workouts, but it makes things like super simple. Like, yeah, having a gym is great, going to a gym is great, but at the same time, it's like there's a lot of different options, which obviously is pretty beneficial at times, but just being able to like kind of keep it simple and like quote unquote old school is also really nice because honestly, like you have everything that you need and you really don't need much as well to have a really good workout. And I think that's something people forget about. Like people think you need to have like this equipment, this piece, that piece. You need to drive like an hour to a good gym. Like, yeah, that definitely might help for some people. But personally, it's like, I just want to get in, get my workout done, and then go on with my day because I definitely don't have like 3 hours to train how some people do. But if that's you, no big, I mean, that's what you want to do. But personally, like, that's a lot of time. So we're going to get to it. Have a great workout. Hopefully you guys find knowledge in this, and I definitely would stay around for the last piece of the video because there's also something else that I want to say. Austin's very interesting, but only because the University of Texas. Oh, snap. So we're just warming up because probably get an idea of the warm up so you don't hurt yourself. The more you know. You see the ocean, you're like, damn, all that water. Ooh. I don't know what I was gonna say. I was gonna say something stupid. And I can't be here all night. I got a life.
Pack.
Feels really good. He finally wears a large. But it's because he eats Pop-Tarts.
Yeah. He eats more junk food than like anybody I know, honestly.
Call him out.
Well, he's doing 75 hard right now. Or he started yesterday. Did he already fail?
No.
Boom. Roasted.
Oh, that was a lot heavier than I thought it would be. Alright, good workout. Just kidding. We're not done. That was hard though. Drop this weight because that was way too heavy. Talk about a way to light up your lats. That one sucks. Anthony's on that Pop-Tart diet. Now I can't have caffeine past 3 p.m. because apparently I get old and I'll just stay up until like 2, and that's not good for me. Because if I don't get my 8 hours of sleep, I definitely turn into like an asshole, and I don't like being like that. So 8 hours of sleep is major key. small, right? You know? Like, I don't know how these work, but it's the thought that counts, I guess. I don't know. Just do without it. It's kind of crazy that they sent this. This will be, I think, my working set. See how this first one moves. If it moves, it moves. I can't breathe. And when I can't breathe, I can't function. Like when I have to pee, I can't function. Yeah, when I gotta pee, like everything's done. And I gotta go pee. Yeah, like when I gotta pee, we can be in the most important meeting of my life. And I'm like, nope, we're done. I gotta pee. So a quick tip when it comes to deadlifts, and I think I talked about this maybe in the RDL video from a while ago, but whenever you're setting up for like an RDL or deadlift, something that, I don't know if I like learned this in a video on YouTube, I think I did, but I don't know, but something that I heard someone say once is like, whenever you step up to the bar, you want the bar to like, essentially cut your feet in half. So if you're looking from like a point of view of my eyes, like my feet are cut in half, and they're not like super close, where like my shins are intentionally touching the bar. And I feel like if your shins are intentionally touching the bar already, whenever you pull up, your back breaks quite a bit and you have quite a big bend. And like that's probably one of the last things that you really want, is to have like a massive bend in your back. Obviously, when you're pulling heavy from the ground, there's going to be one. But whenever you're setting up, your feet are breaking the bar in half, or cutting your feet in half, then obviously I always use straps. People hate when people use straps, but to me, just common sense and like safety, and you get to pull more. Like, who doesn't feel better from pulling more weight? Put your ego aside. But whenever you're also strapping in, something that I see people do is whenever they pull, they really like, they don't have any like force created within like their bottom half. So whenever I'm pulling, I am pulling my body. Whenever I put my hands in the bar, my feet are split, I'm pulling my body into the bar. Or a lot of people, what they do is they'll grab the bar and then they'll just yank it up whenever there's no force in your lower half. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, well, deadlifts is like a back workout. And it's like, yeah, man, that's cool and all. But at the same time, like, one, that's extremely unsafe because you are going to, like, break your back. And it's just a lot of unnecessary stress. But two, it is like a power movement in a way. And, like, my goal is to generate a lot of power for this movement because, one, like, who doesn't want to, like, lift a lot of weight? Like, I don't know one person that really isn't like that, especially, like, as a male when it comes to deadlifts. But, one, you're just more safe. Two, you're not breaking your back. But three, you are trying to exert as much power as you can into the ground and then pull it up and push your hips through. Now, another thing, too, when you get to the top, you'll see a lot of people, they'll pull all the way, but then their hips shoot forward like this, leaving their lower back compromised. Whenever I'm pulling, driving my feet into the ground, driving my quads into the ground. My knees are kind of pushing out as well. That's mostly because my glutes are kind of underactive sometimes. But I'm driving, and when I get here, I squeeze like my glutes. I'm not overextending like this where my lower back is compromised. I'm driving all the way up, pulling, squeeze my glutes, and whenever I feel like if I go forward a little bit more, I will overextend, that's when I stop. And another thing too is whenever you're going to the ground, a lot of people, they'll come up, they'll go to the ground, and then they slam it into the ground like aggressively. I'll be honest with you, like I don't see the point of that. Like it's one thing if you stop the weight and you pull it. It's another thing if you're a tap and go. Like people like to argue like the constant tension thing. Totally up to you and whatever you're feeling that day. But personally, I definitely just kind of depends on where I'm at. But if you're gonna tap and go, it's a tap and go. It's not a aggressively slam the weight into the ground and pull back up. I'm gonna be honest with you, at that point you're just overstraining your body and you're probably ego lifting. And if you're going down and you're kind of taking a second to reset, like that's completely fine. The biggest thing though is whenever you're resetting, make sure that you're resetting, but then you're actually make sure you're driving that force into the ground, and you're not essentially just like pulling with your back, where your back is bended the entire time. So you'll notice whenever I pull, my back is pretty straight the entire time, and my core's engaged, my lower half's engaged. Essentially, my entire body's engaged, because if not, like, you'll just cause injury and you won't be able to get the best lift. So here's the second set of deadlifts. We're gonna get into that. That was the hardest part. Way too hard. But that's besides the point. I've gotten back to training here more often, and something that whenever we got the gym, Sean was nice enough to order a lot of prime stuff that honestly I've never really used. So we have like all the different attachments, like this lat pull down, the handles, the long bar, and honestly a lot of like other different attachments over here as well, like the single hand under the lat pull down. But Prime makes really good stuff, so you ever interested in, like, if you ever looking for equipment, like, Prime's definitely really good. And this is Serenex, which is a USA company, which is pretty cool, and they also install it for you, so shout out to them. You'll notice the first exercise what we do is we have like the single, I think it's called a D handle, and we're pulling down, and we're really targeting our lats, like our legit lats. I think a lot of times whenever you see people do lat pull downs, they think they're like really working the lats, and like they are. But whenever a lot of people do lat pull downs, you'll notice that they're pulling. Whenever they're pulling, they're kind of pulling with their back, like their chest up, essentially kind of arched in a way. And because of that, they kind of move the movement to a lot more of like an upper back focus pull down, which that's fine if that's what you're trying to work. But at the same time, like if you're really trying to work your lats, you want to work your lats more in the position where you're not necessarily pulling straight down and you have that arch, but you're kind of a little bit further away. So like I'm further away from the, not the center point, but where the cable's at and the handle, and I'm actually pulling with my lats. And you'll notice whenever you're pulling like this, like you feel nothing but your lats. Where if you're pulling with this, not only will you feel some of your lats, but you'll mostly feel your upper back. And that's why, one, I do this, but I also do the other one, because I do need to work my lats, and I also need to work my upper back as well. So just a quick little tip and like difference for people, because I feel like people really don't understand the difference, and that can just kind of go a long ways in like your training and stuff. That's hard. So what we're doing here is a single arm lat pull. So a lot of people, what you'll normally see people do it with like a traditional like dumbbell. Personally, I just don't like doing that because one, honestly, it just puts a lot of strain on me, which is fine. But at the same time, I feel like whenever I'm doing these, I'm just a little more stable. So you'll notice how when I set up, I have the bench right here set up at like a 90 degrees, and then I'm kind of not necessarily like extremely leaning into it, but I have my arm here, and because of that, my back is like really straight. And whenever I pull, I'm pulling with my elbow, and I'm pulling with pretty much my elbow straight down into my lat. Where if you're kind of doing like a normal traditional like dumbbell row, I feel like what a lot of people start to do is whenever you're rowing like a heavy amount of weight and you're really trying to get it up there, you start to kind of flare your elbow out quite a bit, and which I think we all kind of naturally do at times. But then you start targeting more of your upper back, which if that's your goal, that's fine. But at the same time, it's like I'm really trying to target my lats, which has been a huge focus on me, just like overall, like getting more of like that width to my physique and just like my look. So that's why I prefer to do these, because one, it's a little more isolated. Two, I feel a little more in control. And three, it just feels a lot better compared to doing a dumbbell row. Oh, it's hard. Just finished the workout, obviously, and hopefully you guys found value in that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and you pulled away something. And just how we kind of ended all the other videos, I really wanted to end it the exact same. I believe we called like the segment like my closing thoughts or like my final words or whatever. I just think it's a cool way to end a video each and every single time, mostly because like it's just kind of like who I am, and sometimes I just have things that I want to say that could hopefully provide value, and sometimes they'll be funny, sometimes they'll be serious, sometimes they'll just be whatever it is that I want. But you know, kind of getting back into like making YouTube videos and like creating content, something that I always struggle with is like I don't like doing things that like I'm new at and that I'm not necessarily good at. And that's mostly because like it's very uncomfortable in a way, especially like putting yourself out there. Something that I've had to learn a lot recently is that like my life has drastically changed. Obviously, everyone who watches these videos knows me. Like, that's just kind of how it is. And if you don't know me, then that's even cool. But, you know, I've been really accustomed to, you know, being in like a retail setting, being in just like a person-to-person setting every single day. And as I've progressed and I've like made big life changes and like career changes and done different things, a lot of my focus now has gone to strictly like social media. And I've had this weird dilemma with social media where like part of me doesn't want to be on it and then part of me does. And at the same time, like part of me also doesn't want to because I'm necessarily like, you know, it's like whenever you begin any journey, it's not necessarily like the funnest because one, you feel very uncomfortable, and two, you kind of feel like an imposter in a way, and like you don't know like how it's going to go or what necessarily the details look like. And something that I even wrote it down for like the closing thoughts that I wanted to talk about because I feel like it's a very, I don't know, I feel like people can relate to it a lot, but something that I have to give credit because it isn't my like thought process, but something that Andy Frisella used to always say, because I've been listening to the guy now for like 8 years, it feels like, or 7. When I was like 300 pounds doing like cardio at like City Gym in South Oklahoma City, like that's who I would listen to on my headphones. But something that he always said to me, and it didn't necessarily make sense, but he would always say like the work comes before the belief. And as I was listening to that, I never really understood what it meant, mostly because like I guess I've never had like belief in myself. But as I've gotten older, I've started to be, you know, I've gone through periods of time where like I have like an abundant amount of belief in myself, and then I go through times where I just don't have necessarily a lot of belief in myself. And I've definitely been one of those times. I'm definitely one of those times now where I haven't necessarily had the most amount of belief in myself. But luckily I have a track record that has shown that like, hey, when you do the work and you've done certain things, like things are possible, you know. Just like, you know, getting back into the YouTube thing, I was a little bit nervous because I don't necessarily have like a prep. I don't necessarily have like something that I can showcase people to like stick along and like follow with. But at the same time, like I forget that at one point in my life, like I used to be 300 pounds. That one point in life, you know, I was a college dropout. At one point in life, I didn't have a business. I didn't have the opportunities that I have. Like other people, I work at Pride Foods, and I get to travel a lot and I get to meet a lot of people. But at one point in time, I didn't have any of those things. And I always forget that, like, hey, from a credibility standpoint, like, I actually do have something. Like, I have something that is tangible that people can actually look at. And it doesn't have to necessarily be like this prep series or different things like that. Now, will I take you guys through a series? Yeah, I definitely will because I have a lot of things that I want to do and I want to accomplish. But going back to, like, the work comes before the belief, like, one big thing that I want to do with, like, this YouTube channel, and I don't think I did a great job at explaining it in the beginning, is, like, taking you guys not necessarily through like the journey of like prep or like bodybuilding, but taking you guys through the journey of just like myself and who I am. Because I was telling Warren this earlier, something I feel like I'm really good at is just like being myself. But whenever I feel like I'm not myself, that's when I struggle the most. And whenever we're making videos prior, I feel like I was struggling because I wasn't necessarily like being myself. But when I can be myself, that's when I know that I thrive and I can do whatever it is that I want. And that's something that I want to do with this YouTube thing. It's like take you guys along the journey, take you guys through the journey of Let's Work, through the journey of training, through the journey, sorry about that, Shopify connected to my phone. But just taking you guys through the journey of like the things that I do, and hopefully you guys can provide value and entertainment. But going back to like the work comes before the belief, it's, you know, it is scary starting like a YouTube channel because I've done it like multiple times now and I've come to the realization I really need to do it. But also going back to that same point, like right now, you know, since I'm not prepping, I can't lie that like I'm in decent shape, but I'm not in the best shape. I'm probably about 20 to 25 pounds over where I really want to be. And, you know, obviously while I make YouTube content, I'll be kind of showcasing that like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm like not slimming down for any reason other than like, I just want to feel good about myself. I just want to feel great about myself. I just want to look in the mirror and be like, hey, like, I feel good, I look good, I can do anything. It's a confidence thing. And, you know, going back to the work before, I know I've rambled a little bit, but going back to, like, the work comes before the belief, a lot of people, since they've never done necessarily the work, they don't have the belief in themselves. And I feel like whenever Andy would say this, he would say it in the sense of like a business mindset, but like you can also apply it to like a weight loss mindset or a fat loss mindset or anything. Like you have to do the work in order to believe in yourself. And if you don't believe in yourself, then like nobody else will. But as you get further down the road, you start to realize like, hey, the more you do the work, the more your belief comes from within yourself, and the more things you're able to do, and new opportunities and new projects and stuff. So that was kind of like my closing thoughts in like a short-winded answer. It was like, you know, the work comes before the belief. And honestly, I'm just excited to kind of get back into making YouTube videos, creating content, and just kind of hopefully showcasing a different side of me that I didn't necessarily do in the first 3 videos, which is like a lot more day in the lives, a lot more like the work behind, you know, let's work, like just the shit that I do with my life. Because, you know, I think the best content you can make is just the content that you would record if you were just living your normal life. And I do think I live somewhat of a very interesting life. Like right now, you know, we're in a warehouse in the middle of Newcastle, Oklahoma, with product all around us, with a gym, a sauna, and hopefully I'm just able to bring more of myself, my personal self, to the YouTube channel. So if you guys stuck around this entire video, hopefully you guys liked it. Hopefully you guys found some type of value from it, whether it was training-wise, motivation-wise, inspiration-wise. And honestly, I'm just excited to continue making content. So like I said, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Like, comment, subscribe. I believe that's what it's called. And we will have a schedule to hopefully always have 2 videos up a week, if not at least 1. So I'm excited to see you guys in the next one, and peace.